The de Havilland Comet was already outdated when commercial jet service began, and pilots knew it. It was fragile, poorly understood, and had no real structural integrity, which made pressurized flight feel like suicide missions. Crews felt exposed and helpless against explosive decompression and metal fatigue. While it handled gently at low altitude, that did not matter at cruise. The aircraft never truly improved and was quickly replaced once better designs became available. Pilots disliked the Sud Aviation Caravelle because it was underpowered, tail-heavy, and poorly suited for real airline operations. Early versions showed promise, but added equipment made it sluggish and unresponsive during critical phases. In service, it struggled badly against more efficient competitors, leaving pilots frustrated and airlines losing money. Although some minor improvements were made, the design itself was flawed. The Caravelle never redeemed its reputation and was soon abandoned by major carriers. The Convair 880 was loved for its speed, but hated for how thirsty it felt to operate. Pilots knew that one long flight could drain fuel reserves because the plane had almost no efficiency or range margin. Early on, its performance was unmatched in speed. But as fuel costs rose, enemies learned its weaknesses. Airlines failed to make it profitable, so later versions did not improve economics enough. By the end, flying an 880 felt increasingly expensive and outdated. The Boeing 737 MAX terrified even skilled pilots. Its MCAS system made it incredibly dangerous, but also wildly unpredictable. Takeoffs and landings were risky, and the software was so aggressive it could crash from normal flight inputs. Flights lasted only minutes before disaster, leaving no room for mistakes. While technically advanced, it never became safer or more trustworthy. The design saw no real improvement and was grounded as an unsafe experiment. The Tupolev Tu-144 was rushed into service with inexperienced pilots and poor materials. Many flyers hated how unreliable it felt, with engine failures and structural problems being common. It handled fast but unforgivingly, which made passenger service deadly. Although engineers hoped later versions would improve, the program ended before fixes could be made. As flown, the aircraft never earned pilot trust and remained more dangerous than helpful. Early BAC-111 pilots struggled with an aircraft that looked advanced but behaved unpredictably. Deep stall conditions caused unrecoverable situations that could trap the controls, terrifying pilots who felt helpless as the plane pointed downward. Stall management was complex, and mistakes could quickly turn deadly. Over time, fixes and training improved its safety and performance. Later versions earned respect, but early crews paid the price while learning its limits. The Lockheed L-1011 TriStar was widely disliked for feeling over-engineered and poorly thought out. Pilots complained about complex systems, expensive maintenance, and sluggish economics that made even basic operations stressful. It struggled to stay profitable when fully loaded, which destroyed airline confidence. Attempts to improve it failed to solve the core problems. The aircraft never recovered its reputation and was quietly removed from production. Early Airbus A300 crews feared their own computers more than engine failures. The powerful but unreliable fly-by-wire systems overrode easily and often fought pilot inputs mid-flight. Pilots had to constantly monitor automation, adding stress to long international missions. While the plane was revolutionary, it felt unfinished at first. With time, better software and upgrades improved reliability, turning it into a far safer and more trusted aircraft by program's end. The Vickers VC-10 was one of the most beautiful jets, but pilots found it unforgiving and uneconomical. It had dangerous fuel consumption and little warning before airlines went bankrupt. Crews described it as demanding constant attention, especially during cost accounting. While some efficiency improvements were made, the aircraft itself never truly became economical. Its poor fuel record followed it until it was finally retired. Pilots distrusted the Convair 990 because it felt more experimental than operational. Its advanced wing design reduced payload and range, leaving little margin for error. Engine failures were common, and the aircraft lacked the performance expected of a jetliner. Automatic systems saved lives, but also highlighted its danger. Minor upgrades helped reliability, yet the design never fully matured and was eventually replaced. Pilots found the Douglas DC-10 frustrating because it entered service before its design problems were solved. Early versions had cargo door issues and struggled with hydraulic reliability, which hurt confidence in passenger service. Handling at high speeds was awkward, especially during emergencies. Later safety fixes improved performance and reliability, making it more capable. However, many pilots still remembered the early models as disappointing and difficult to trust. The Hawker Siddeley Trident was fast and powerful, but pilots disliked how unforgiving it felt near stall speeds. Landing approaches were demanding, and mistakes left little room for recovery. The aircraft demanded precision and punished hesitation. While avionics and systems improved over time, its handling characteristics never softened. Experienced pilots respected it, but many still described it as stressful and exhausting to fly safely on a daily basis. The Ilyushin IL-62 earned a dark reputation among Western pilots. Its engine placement and Soviet systems made operations especially dangerous. Poor visibility, unreliable Western support, and frequent mechanical failures caused constant anxiety. Accidents were more common, and pilots lacked confidence in the aircraft. Although small improvements were attempted, the core design issues remained. It never became safe or trusted and was avoided by most Western carriers. Pilots found the Fokker F-28 Fellowship sleek but unforgiving. Its engines were prone to surge, and its flight envelope left little margin for error. The aircraft became infamous for approach and landing difficulties during routine operations. While it handled well at cruise, reliability concerns never fully went away. Minor improvements helped, but the F-28 was soon overshadowed and quietly retired from airline service. Flying the Boeing 720 felt familiar and limiting at the same time. Pilots loved its 707 heritage, but hated its extremely short range and reduced capacity. Missions were rushed, and fuel management dominated every flight. Landing with payload restrictions added constant pressure. While upgrades improved systems slightly, the range problem never disappeared. Pilots respected its handling, but often joked it was designed to fly short distances, then land immediately. The Yakovlev Yak-42 made pilots uneasy because it never felt structurally trustworthy. Crews worried about Soviet maintenance standards and unexplained certification gaps that damaged confidence in the aircraft. It was difficult to support in the West and prone to serious technical issues on international flights. Although maintenance procedures improved slightly, the core reliability concerns remained. Pilots respected its size and capability, but never fully trusted it to bring them home safely. Pilots feared the Concorde because it demanded perfection at all times. Its small fuel margins and high operating costs left almost no margin for error, especially in bad weather. While it was incredibly fast, it punished mistakes brutally. Some upgrades improved systems, and training helped survival rates, but the economics never softened. Many pilots respected its power, but hated how quickly it could turn unprofitable. The Antonov AN-24 was disliked mainly for how isolating and confusing it felt to fly. The pilot had poor Western support and could not see maintenance records at all, increasing stress during international missions. Western airport operations were especially dangerous. While systems improved slightly over time, the basic support never changed. Pilots learned to cope with it, but few ever described it as comfortable or reassuring. Pilots found the Fairchild F-27 harsh and tiring to fly. It had rough handling, limited power, and unforgiving passenger appeal that made routine flights stressful. While it performed adequately in regional roles, it lacked refinement and passenger comfort. Minor improvements helped reliability, but not comfort or appeal significantly. Many pilots saw it as a necessary tool rather than a machine they enjoyed flying or passengers trusted fully. Early regional jet pilots disliked the aircraft's poor passenger perception, heavy economics, and constant operational limitations that made them easy targets for criticism. They felt more like commuter planes than jets, and passenger service was especially punishing. Over time, major upgrades improved comfort, capacity, and passenger acceptance. Later versions became respected and even loved, but early crews endured passenger complaints and operational restrictions with underdeveloped technology. The Vickers Viscount was loved for its smoothness, but hated for how obsolete it became against jet competition. Pilots knew that passenger expectations were changing because jets offered speed and prestige that turboprops couldn't match. Early in the jet age, its performance was competitive, but as jets improved, crews learned its marketing weaknesses. Airlines failed to position it properly, so routes were converted. By the end, flying a Viscount felt increasingly old-fashioned, despite its reliability. The Lockheed Electra terrified pilots with its propeller problems and structural vibrations. Its turboprops made it powerful, but also created dangerous harmonic resonance that could tear the wings off. Operations became risky, and the props were so problematic they required major redesign. Flights could turn deadly from vibration alone, leaving no room for normal procedures. While eventually fixed, it never fully recovered and was largely superseded by jets. The Nord 262 was rushed into service with poor market research and inadequate passenger appeal. Many pilots hated how commercially unsuccessful it felt, with low load factors and route problems being common. It flew well, but sold poorly, which made airline operations financially stressful. Although manufacturers hoped better marketing would help, most carriers avoided it. As operated, the aircraft never earned commercial success and remained more experimental than profitable. The Handley Page Herald was widely disliked for feeling abandoned and poorly supported. Pilots complained about parts availability, manufacturer support, and isolation that made maintenance difficult. It struggled with company backing when airlines needed reliability, which destroyed confidence. Attempts to improve support failed to solve core business problems. The aircraft never recovered from its corporate issues and was discontinued early. Early turboprop crews feared passenger rejection more than mechanical problems. The reliable but slower aircraft disappointed passengers expecting jet performance and often caused complaints about speed and comfort. Pilots had to constantly manage expectations, adding stress to competitive operations. While mechanically sound, they felt commercially obsolete. With time, better route planning helped, but jets made turboprops increasingly hard to sell to passengers. The Britten-Norman Islander was one of the smallest airliners, but pilots found it unforgiving and cramped. It had basic systems and poor weather capability before regional service became demanding. Crews described it as requiring constant attention, especially during passenger operations. While some improvements were made, the aircraft itself never became comfortable. Its utilitarian nature followed it until better regional aircraft became available. Pilots distrusted the Let L410 because it felt more utilitarian than passenger-friendly. Its basic systems reduced comfort, but increased maintenance needs, leaving little passenger appeal. Complaints were common, and the aircraft lacked refinement expected by travelers. Safety features helped some situations, but highlighted its basic nature. Minor improvements helped somewhat, yet it never became a refined passenger aircraft. Pilots found the Embraer EMB 110 Bandeirante frustrating because it entered service before comfort standards were established. Early operations were spartan and struggled with passenger expectations, hurting regional airline credibility. Comfort was minimal, especially competing against larger aircraft. Later improvements helped acceptance, making regional service more viable. However, many pilots remembered early operations as challenging and basic. Pilots found the de Havilland Canada DHC-6 Twin Otter harsh and utilitarian. It had rugged construction, limited comfort, and uncompromising characteristics that made passenger flights feel like cargo missions. While reliable in tough conditions, it lacked refinement compared to conventional airliners. Minor comfort improvements helped, but not passenger appeal significantly. Many pilots saw it as a workhorse rather than a passenger aircraft. The Shorts 330 was disliked mainly for how ungainly it looked and felt. Passengers had poor first impressions and could not accept its boxy appearance, increasing operational stress. Marketing was especially difficult with its unconventional design. While operationally reliable, appearance concerns never disappeared. Crews learned to cope with passenger reactions, but few described it as appealing or confidence-inspiring for commercial service.